Hey, welcome to Thursday. So I went and got a haircut, which feels so good. Haircuts right now legally in California can only be done outdoors. And for haircut places, for salons to get approval to do it outdoors, they need county permit. They need a permit from the county of San Diego. Then they need one from the city they're in. Then the property management company that they're likely using to rent their space. So it's a whole thing. It takes weeks to get. There's only, I went to the, it wasn't Great Clips. None of those are open. I went to Sport Cuts, which I've only ever been to one in Ohio like 10 years ago, and I thought it was fine. It was a little overpriced. Same thing today, but it was better than Great Clips. So there's like 20 of them in San Diego County, and only 5 or 6 of them are open right now. You don't have the means to be able to move out to a parking lot, something like that. And they have weird hours. They're open from like 10 to 4. Open late, close early, and the one I was going to go to over by the house near Poway was already booked up by about noon. So I did the one in Del Mar Heights. So I drove over to Del Mar, had to get gas, then to Del Mar to get the haircut. Now it feels like a Saturday because I'm taking the Del Dios Highway from Del Mar to Escondido, and every mile I go, it's getting warmer and warmer. It is 92 in Del Mar. That's coastal San Diego. That's really hot for the coast. And over here is 103. It was just 102 when I looked down a minute ago. So I'm guessing Escondido will be around 108, 110 today, which is Vegas levels of heat, but there's heat advisory in effect here, I think, until Saturday perhaps. So I'm gonna enjoy the drive, even though we're stuck 3 cars behind a horse trailer that's not going over 50. Got a bunch of parts in Escondido, a couple jobs coming up. My trunk is loaded down with parts. I've got to pick up more from the dealer there, so I'll give you a little inventory when we get to the shop. Cadillac XLR, that is not a car you see on a frequent basis, especially in that light, kind of nice, looks like a steel blue if it were a BMW. So we're not far from the shop. We are at 106. Yeah. The final number here in Escondido is 107 in the shop. So finally, the special tool all the way from Germany has shown up. It took about 2.5 weeks. This is it. What we want to do is put this pulley on the alternator here. It's held on with a triple square counter hold that's a 9mm triple and then a 24mm nut. Well, I can easily put a socket around on that nut and tighten it, but then it just rotates the whole alternator. And they don't want you to stick a screwdriver into the birdcage here because it'll bend those fins and break the fins, and then it won't cool and it won't last long. So when you put the 24mm on there, it spins the whole thing because you can't counter hold it. So you need a pass-through socket like this to put in there. Now that's on the 24mm nut. Now I can take my triple square and put that through the pass-through socket, and then use a 24mm open-ended wrench to tighten that down. Isn't that tricky? So this stupid little thing was, I think, $11 or $16, I don't know, it was pretty cheap. All the way from Germany, just to put the torque on that, so that alternator is finally ready to go in that M3. It's in! It's finally in! That only took 4 months. We got this car here in April, and we knew it, or in May, and we knew it needed an alternator then. So all of this is new. I just poured a bunch of 50/50 in there. Radiator's empty, the hoses are empty, so it's just gonna have to run to get that juice flowing. I gotta play with the bleeder screw. I've never really learned how to bleed these straight 6s. The E39 V8s are self, or at least the S62 is self-bleeding, which is a billion times better, and why they couldn't figure out how to do that on these, I don't know. But the alternator's in, everything is torqued to spec and put back together exactly how it should have been. I cleaned all of this plastic. This was all kind of nasty. I cleaned the inside, I cleaned the ductwork that feeds the alternator. I replaced all the hardware I took off, so like these are now new, and those little plastic things, and unfortunately, as I tried to clean that, some of the black came off, so that doesn't look awesome. And I'm going to recommend to Ken he replace this with the stock airbox. This is crap. You can't tell me this adds any performance. That is such a AutoZone mod at best.
I appreciate the intricacy of that web though. That took some time. And doesn't it have more, like Spyder Silk have more torsional